Hey everybody! Welcome to the first episode of the B.A.D Collection podcast. My first guest is David Howard Thornton. He is from Terrifier and he plays Art the Clown. Enjoy the episode!
Cool. I'm so happy you're able to do this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
How have
this
you how have you been like through quarantine and everything?
surviving.
I get it.
Yeah, playing a lot of video games, watching a lot of movies and stuff like that. Doing a lot of podcasts too, so that's been keeping me sane because it's like communicating with the outside world.
Right, exactly. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, I just finished acting school in New York, so it's
Mhm.
it's crazy how like I was just in New York, like doing my thing, and then now like we're stuck at home, and it's not
Yeah.
a horrible thing. There's tons of different things that we can do and like be creative, but it's still so hard because we're not used to, especially as actors, we're not used to doing stuff like that.
Oh, I know. It's driving me crazy. I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's like, like 2 or 3 weeks is fine, but after a while, you're like, okay, okay.
And it's like 3 months and I still can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, yeah, it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. But at the same time, it's like I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go outside right now because I know it's still not safe. So it's just like, what do I do here?
Exactly. Oh my. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. I had some questions for you, of course.
Sure.
My first one is you've done tons of different types of work, like voiceover and stage work, and of course, film work. Is there one out of the three that you prefer more, or is it just you love doing it all?
Oh boy, I'm pretty much fine doing it all. I'm like there's benefits to all three of those. Like with voiceover work, I can play some characters I would never get a chance to play, in person because just looks wise and stuff like that. Plus with voiceover, you don't have to worry about memorizing lines. You don't have to worry about how you look. You can just go in and just do it and have fun.
Right.
Stage work, I love being in front of an audience. I love being able to do the same show overnight, overnight after night after night after night because you can find new, nuances to the character. And like, because I'm one of these people, I will think of things afterwards. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have done that. And but with stage, you can like, oh, I'll just do the next performance or something like that. So I miss that, and especially with the audience, you have that great interaction with them. You know if things are working, if it's not. You know how well received things are at the moment, so you can adapt on the fly and feed into that energy too. I do that a lot. Um, but with film, it's you could do some really much bigger things that you could ever do on a stage. And you have the liberty to, if something goes wrong, you can just go, okay, we'll just do another take instead of
Yeah.
like on stage where it's just like, well, that happened.
Yeah. Stage I love doing stage work and film work, but it's so, I don't know, at least for me personally, like when I've done stage work, I feel like so much more pressure than it would be on like a set, because if you screw up, it's like you're either like, oh damn, like oh
Yeah,
well, or you're like, what am I gonna do now, type
yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, but
So
in those cases, you also get to see how talented some people really are because you see how they're able to handle a mishap on stage. Like, I grew up with this one actor, especially in my local community theater, that was notorious for forgetting his lines. But he wouldn't just blank out or anything like that. He would keep the scene going, but you're like, what the hell is going on right now? Okay, just go. And you had to be on your game if you would ever have those moments. And sometimes he would do it on purpose just to see if you were on your game too.
right,
Yeah, so
wow,
that's how I learned how to do a lot of improvisation because I had to be on my toes with him.
nice. No, it's almost like you're getting a class for free. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's like cool to be able to take advantage of something like that and have somebody like do that for you, even though
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of scary at the same time because you wouldn't like know to expect it or not.
Oh yeah, he and I would have fun because he was always trying to get me to break on stage and he could never do that. He was just like, "Damn." I'm trying to make you just totally break character, start laughing or something like that. No, I can't. I'm like, yep, sorry.
That's great. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, now you've done Terrifier, which I was blown away in so many different ways watching that, because one day my dad and I were just chilling because we love horror.
Mhm.
So we pulled it up and watched the film, and I honestly have like never ever seen anything like this. It's so different and crazy. So it's so gory, and it genuinely is terrifying to watch, like every moment of it. So uh since it's like so iconic now and so big, like what were there any moments where you were terrified on set, or like do you have specific favorite moments?
I wouldn't say I was ever really terrified on set because, like, everything's going to be happening and stuff like that. Plus, I'm the one doing all the scary stuff anyway, so
True.
so I was just like, well, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I did occasionally scare myself though in the bathroom. I would forget I had all the makeup on, and I would see myself in the mirror, and I would jump because I was usually delirious by that point of the night. So I'm just like, oh God, oh, that's just me. That's just me. But we did have some fun moments on set, especially, both films. We've had a lot of fun moments and stuff because, I'm one of those that I don't stay in character the whole entire time I'm there. So as soon as I say cut, I'm back to myself. I'm joking around and stuff like that. I think sometimes Damien would just roll camera just so he would shut me up, but that's just how it goes. But yeah, I mean, we had a lot of crazy moments. Probably the most notorious one was the night where I did scare some people, and I was just it's the night they were filming Jenna getting shot in the face, and so they're doing all the practical effects. I was just waiting in the holding room, just biding my time, already in full makeup, blood, and all that kind of stuff, and maybe about 2 o'clock in the morning in Trenton, New Jersey, and these two women are having a fight on the street right below my window. And it's like something out of Jerry Springer. I'm like, well, I'm bored. I'm going to go watch this. So I'm just
Yeah.
standing at the window and I'm just watching the fight. And one of them looks up and sees me, and I forget how I look, and I just wave at her like, "Hi." She sees this clown up in this window covered in blood waving at her, just like she's like, God. So her eyes just bug out and she goes screaming off. The other woman turns, sees me too. She goes screaming off. I thought that was hysterical. And I thought that was the end of it. And I'm like, oh, shit. And about like 10, 15 minutes later, like Damien and our producers and, the RTP come in and they're kind of giggling to each other. They're really giddy. And I'm like, okay, well, this is cool. What's going on? And at the same time, our producer was doing a film with Tom Sizemore, and so I thought, and he had said that Tom might visit our set, and so it's like, oh, cool, maybe Tom's here then, because they said there was someone here that wanted to meet me. And I'm like, oh, cool, cool, cool. Well, I'll come out. It's like, well, don't come out until we tell you to, because we want it to be a surprise. I'm like, okay, cool. And so it's like, it's in that garage. There's that big, huge roll-up garage door. So I'm waiting on the side of the door, and they're like, okay, Dave, come on out. So I'm starting to roll up the door, and I come up because I wanted to come out a little bit freaky and stuff like that just to be funny. So I came out doing a little, and I come up and my butt just puckers because I noticed there's about 10 to 15 of New Jersey's finest in like full on riot gear, like they're ready to go to war. And I'm like, oh God, I'm about to die. And I was like, okay, I got to think of a way to just, like ease the situation here. So I just squeak out this like, what's up, guys? And there's dead silence. And I'm like, oh God, this is how I die. This is how I die. This is how I die. And then they just start laughing. And I'm like, oh, thank God. They're like, yeah, man, you'd be glad you were the first one that didn't come out because we would have shot you on sight. I'm like, oh, I believe you. I believe you. Yeah, we got this call from these women said that they saw this clown covered in blood in this building. I'm like, that's how they responded, like full on riot gear. I'm like, man, what part of Trenton are we filming in? I was like, oh my God. And the scary thing too was we didn't have running water in that building or heat. And so we had a porta potty outside. And that porta potty happened to be right where they all came in. It was this back area of the lot. And so I'm like, oh, thank God I wasn't using that porta potty when they showed up. It's like,
That would have been horrible.
oh my God, I can just make up. No, 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 this is just a costume. This is a costume. We're making a movie. Yeah, sure you are, sure you. No, no, okay, okay.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. Wow. And then wow, I would have been freaked out myself. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was great.
Oh my Lord.
It was
That
great.
is insane. Well, and then your character also doesn't speak at all. It's all character work. So did you take a lot of time to prepare for that? Like, how did the audition work out and everything?
I would say I've been preparing for that my whole entire life because I've been like a lifelong fan of like silent comedians and stuff like that. I love physical comedy, so I've been perfecting those skills throughout my life in my career. I grew up doing a lot of physical comedy on stage. So, I was heavily influenced by like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Harpo Marx, Mr. Bean, Jim Carrey, Doug Jones. And then I had a great mentor with Stephen Carl, who was Robbie Rotten from Lazy Town. I was his understudy for 5 years with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical. And so he really took me under his wing and really, helped fine tune my skills and stuff like that. So playing art was pretty easy for me because I've been preparing for that my whole entire life. It's like what I had to get used to was actually, doing, like bad, violent things to people though, because it's like, oh yeah, I don't want to hurt anybody. So I have to make it look like I'm hurting them. I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure I'm not really hurting you. So there are times where like, no, you can actually choke me harder. I'm like, are you sure? I really don't want to. It's like, yeah, okay, okay. It's like, it gives me something to work with. I'm like, okay.
Wow. Well, and then also that's very helpful when you're not used to doing a role like that specifically, because then that way like you're comfortable with the other actors and they're comfortable with everything, so it makes the experience easier on you for sure.
Very much so, very much so. It's like, and it's been like that especially in part 2 because we're getting a lot more physical in part 2. So I've really had to up my game on some stunt work and stuff like that. So it's been fun.
Oh, that's great. Once they announced for Terrifier 2, I was like, thank God, yes, we need another one. Hopefully, honestly, like, go on and on. Hopefully you get more. I love it. It's great.
I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, seriously. So do you like doing horror, or do you prefer like comedy, like different genres and stuff?
I mean, I've always been more of a comedy person. I love doing comedy. I love to make people laugh. So I mean, that's just what I've always done. But I'm like, I do enjoy doing horror though. I just never imagined I would be doing it. I was trying to be realistic with myself because I'm a human beanpole in real life. So I'm just like, those aren't traditionally horror villains. It's usually some big, huge, muscle-bound guy or something like that. Because those guys are usually physically threatening to look at. So it's just like, oh God, no one's gonna look at me and go, oh, okay, don't come after me. So yeah, I figured if I ever did horror, I would be like, like the Randy type of character, like the smart-ass, sidekick that gets killed off halfway through or something like that. So I'm like, oh, well, this is a nice change.
Wait, no, yeah, genuinely, I love how you play art and just the characteristics that you bring to the table. It's so different and unique, and like, I don't know, it just blows my mind because again, like, we don't normally see characters like that don't talk much or anything. So like Michael Myers, yeah, like he doesn't talk and such, but there's just something different in how you do it, and I just think it's amazing, and it's just like not seen, so it's great to watch.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, like if you get more Terrifiers or and such, if I got to work on the set, like that would just be amazing. Like I love horror. So just to be able to work on a set like that would be just great. Hopefully there's more. I would love to do it.
Oh, we hope so too. We at least want to make a third one. We already have plans for that one. So just like with Damien and I are
Awesome.
already shooting, ideas between each other and stuff. We're like, hey, what if we do this? Well, okay, yeah, well, let's do that. So we're trying to figure it out. So
Awesome. Well, fingers crossed, honestly. I would love
oh
to
yeah,
see a third. Even
thank you.
even though 2 hasn't come out
Oh, I
yet, I
know.
already know. Like we want it so bad.
Oh yeah. Well, we're definitely setting a lot of stuff up in part two, though, for an eventual part three. So yeah, we're really in part two we're really building up the final girl in this one. So like we want a good protagonist that can go toe to toe with Art.
Of course. That's awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I can go on and on about how excited I am about it because it's just like I said, it's just so different and creative and awesome. So hopefully it comes out soon.
Oh, we're hoping. That's the thing. It's like this whole pandemic has slowed everything down. We were so close to being finished with filming. I think I have maybe 4 or 5 more days left on set. And so it's just
Wow.
like, oh, come on.
Hmm.
I've pretty much finished, filming with our lead actress. Yeah, I have finished filming everything with her and her brother's character and stuff like that. So I just, it's just like these small little scenes here or there that we have to finish up some of the kill scenes, and because Damon's had to take time to build the prosthetics and everything like that. But that's a good thing. It's like this pandemic has actually allowed him to have that time to do that. So he's like,
Right,
I think he's actually
exactly.
come up with more ideas for those kill scenes because of it. He's like, he's had the time to really like, okay, well, let's build upon what we were already going to do. I'm like, okay, cool.
Right. Yeah, because that gives you so much more to work with. And like then that even might bring ideas for you to just pop off with him on set and then go
Yeah.
back and forth. So that's yeah, I mean, like and I can go on and on about this as well. Like this pandemic is like crazy and it has caused some interruptions with stuff, but like it's
Mhm.
also a good time for us to sit down and create and just come
Yeah.
up with crazy different things.
Oh yeah, that's what
So
I
yeah.
thought was really cool is seeing how creative people have gotten with things. Just just recording things on their own like laptops and stuff like that. I mean, just like what they've done with SNL. With it's just like yeah, they still had episodes of SNL being made while everybody's quarantined in their houses, and they're still doing it. I'm like, that's fantastic.
Right. Of course, you've done multiple different things, like I said again, with stage, voiceover, and film. So, is there a certain role that you've ever wanted like to do, like that you've dreamed about doing, like on stage, or is there something that you've maybe come up with in your head over the years that you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this one day?
There's several of those. I mean, I think the biggest one for me would be to play the Joker. Yeah, I would love to play him in like a TV series or something like that. I mean, that's the big goal. That's the ultimate dream. But I mean, there's several other characters I would like to do as well. I would like to really see a good reboot of the Mask from like the Jim Carrey movie from back in the day, but do it more like the old Dark Horse comic version of it, where it was dark and gritty and violent and crazy. And because we saw how well Deadpool did when that was released, and so it's like, yeah, we're at a time where we can do those type of movies, and it would be good. So I would like to do that. Oh boy, I stage wise, I mean, there's so many roles I would love to play on stage anyway. So it's like like Thenardier and Les Mis, or like Mr. Wormwood and Matilda, or something like that. There's so many of those type of roles. Jafar would be fun, but I've been really wanting someone to finally do a live, on stage adaptation of A Nightmare Before Christmas, and I would love to play Jack Skellington in that. That would be a lot of fun. It's just like I don't know why that has not been done yet. I mean, I think that would be such a cool show visually. You could do so much with puppeteering and stuff like that. I mean, they just did Beetlejuice, so why not Nightmare Before Christmas? You already have so many songs built into it. You already have a huge fan base. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, that I honestly never really Well, I mean, of course, it probably crossed my mind over the past, but like that would be interesting to see, especially like you said, with they brought Beetlejuice out recently,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I think that could easily be adapted to a musical or a play on stage, and that'd be huge because you're right, they do have a huge fan base with
Yeah.
that.
I can just only imagine what they would do with like Oogie Boogie's number, and that I think that would just be so cool. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, there's so much you could do. You get someone like Julie Taymor in charge of doing all that kind of stuff with it. I think it'd just be fantastic. You get those like creative minds that know how to do a lot of good puppetry. It's just like, oh,
Right.
the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. I love that. Love that.
Oh
So if there's anybody that you could work with, or past or present, who would it be and why?
boy. Like past, I would say Mel Blanc would be a really good one. He was all the voices for Looney Tunes, so I think he would be just a great person to learn from. Robin Williams. I would love to work. I would have loved to have worked with Robin Williams because he's one of those guys who would definitely keep you on your toes. He would be so much fun.
For sure.
Alive, I would say Doug Jones. I would love to work with Doug Jones. It's like the two of I would love to just partner up with him. Like maybe have him and like Javier Botet and the three of us, the tall, skinny guys, just do something together. I think that would be a lot of fun. Just who knows? There's so many possibilities out there. So many possibilities.
Right.
Yeah.
I love those are great picks for sure. I love that. So my final question for you is,
hmm
if you could give any advice to anybody who is pursuing this career, what would you say?
First of all, I would say just try to, just be a human sponge when it comes to like learning and observing people. I mean, I didn't really go to school for acting. I was just a lifelong student, just doing it myself. And so I learned from my betters. I learned from watching and learned from just acting opposite of people that were more experienced than I. And I'm always compiling it like a mental Rolodex of just things I notice people do, and I'm like, okay, cool, 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 and just like I can use that for something. I can use that, and I do that in just my daily life, just watching people in general in public or just on TV. I will sit here playing video games. I will mimic voices all the time. I always put the subtitles on for my video game so I sometimes read along with it and just for fun and just to
I do
practice.
the
So,
same
yeah.
thing.
I do it all the time. I probably sound insane while I'm playing, especially when it's a great villain monologue. I'm like, oh, I gotta read this with him. I was doing
Right.
that just the other day. I've been playing Dragon Quest 11, and like there's this big huge monologue the villain is just going into, and I'm like, oh, I gotta read along with him. This is fun because he's got this great British accent too, and I'm like, oh, I have to. So I was having fun doing that. So there's always some way to learn something new. So just keep your eyes open. Always be willing to learn new things. Even if it's something that you wouldn't be like a character you would normally play. Try to learn from that. See, maybe try to adapt that into something you could play or something. I don't know. And secondly, I would say just be persistent. I know so many people that get disheartened so easily. I when I moved up here, a lot of people I knew from college came up here, and they maybe lasted about a year or so, and then they got disgruntled because they weren't getting cast and things. Things weren't going the way they thought it was going to go because they were used to being big fish in small ponds, and you come up to New York or you go to LA, and there are so many, many, many talented people out there, and so the competition's fierce.
Mhm.
But don't. Yeah, I always tell people, yeah, the competition's fierce out there, but just because you're not getting cast in something, it might not have anything to do with your talent. It comes down to things that you have no control over. Sometimes you might even just look like someone the casting director used to date, and they're like, nope. Or it's just like they're just like certain nuances they look at, so you have no idea what it is. So and people were just they're just like they don't understand. You have to put the time into it. You have to build up. You have to basically start anew in a lot of ways. I built myself up from doing off Broadway shows for 13 years, just building myself up from doing that to doing getting small voiceover jobs to doing a national tour. Then I finally started booking bigger voiceover jobs. I finally started booking like smaller roles on a few TV shows, and Terrifier came along, and boom, it's just one of those things you just have to be persistent at and be willing to work in any type of medium that you can get cast in. I know some people just want to be on stage. I want to do that too, but I'm like, well, what about film? What's if something else comes along there? Just be. I'm always just looking for work. I was always happy just to find work wherever I could, because it was always something I could learn from and build upon. It was just a stepping stone, and that's how you have to approach it. You just got to be persistent with it. Don't get disgruntled if you don't get cast. I don't know how many times I've been told no. I still get told no a lot. Yeah, I've done a lot of voiceover auditions recently. Haven't gotten cast. Oh well. Just learn to just shrug that off and move on to the next audition, because there's always going to be another audition.
Right. Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I really enjoyed this. Again, I cannot wait for Terrifier 2. Fingers crossed again for a third and more. Again, thank you so much. It was great to talk to you.
Great talking with you as well.
Thank you. Actually, so do you do Comic-Cons often? Do you like doing the cons?
Oh yeah, I love doing them. I miss doing them right now. It's just like that's like a paid vacation for me. Even before I started doing them, that was always a goal of mine, was to be a guest at the convention, because I used to go to conventions growing up. So I was like, I always wanted to be that person on the other side of the table one day. So I'm like, I'm thrilled to be doing them. I'm like, this is fantastic. Yes.
Oh goodness, yeah, because I like, obviously you see my Comic-Con wall. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I love going to them. They're so fun, because not only are you meeting like people that you love to watch and like you just love their work and stuff, but you're making a connection with them, and then you're meeting all these other people that are there for the same reasons, and then you see all these events. There's just so many different amazing things at those, and I really hope like things get back to normal ASAP, because I miss it so much.
Yeah, everybody's wondering how this is going to affect the con world for the next year or so, because it's just like, yeah, this has never happened in the history of conventions. So it's just like no one knows how this is all going to turn out for a while. So it's just like, how are we going to approach these safety measures and stuff like that? It's like, yeah. So we won't know until we start doing them again. It's just going to be one of those things we have to just do it and see what all works and what doesn't work, and just go from there.
Well, because it seems like some of them are doing like virtual stuff, like meet and greets and stuff, and then they'll, if you want an autograph as well, like just pay for that, and then they'll send it to you, or if you want something personally signed, you send it to them, and all that. So I mean, that's probably what we're looking at for the next year at least, which is so sad, but it's still nice to be able to do that, at least that they're giving that option. So, but for the 10 millionth time, of course, it's like, let's get things back to normal soon.
Yeah. I love it, because it's so much fun just doing the after parties and all that kind of stuff. Just hanging out, getting to travel, go to new places. I'm like, I miss it. I was supposed to do so many of them by this time this year, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, wow.
Stupid COVID.
Seriously. Ugh. I mean, the industry is like supposed to get back, like getting back to a lot of work within the next couple months, but there's still probably going to be tons of precautions that they have to do with that too.
Yeah.
So, because I've been hearing stuff like where they have to test people before they can like actually start to work on set, so they make sure they don't have it, and then if they do, they have to like quarantine, and of course, and there's just like, and it's like, how many times are we going to have to test? Do we have to test all the time? How do we do it? It's going to be crazy.
Plus, those tests are not the most comfortable things I hear.
No. Well, it's so weird because I had the flu like 3 weeks or so
Mm-hmm.
before everything started like going to hell.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I got tested positive for influenza B, but it could have easily been coronavirus.
Yeah.
And so it's so scary to think about that. And I'm just like, and that test, oh my gosh, it literally, they took this long Q-tip, and of course I'm sure you've seen it,
Mm-hmm.
and they just stick it all the way up your nose, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever been
Ugh.
through. And then I just couldn't stop sneezing after that. I like sneezed
Yeah.
probably 10 times. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh
Oh,
God.
it's
Ugh.
not comfortable. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. That's why I'm just like, no.
I'll just quarantine, and if I really feel like something's wrong, then I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm just like, I'm just not going to go out right now unless I have to.
Exactly. Well, and then of course, like another, I keep seeing posts, and like I 100% agree with this. That there's this one post I see, and it says like, we're not only fighting a pandemic, we're fighting stupidity. And I have never like a statement more, because like it's so crazy how people are like not like following things.
Oh, I know.
It's like I don't know, like
They're
some people
making
just
it worse. That's the thing. Is like all these other countries have been able to flatten the curve because their citizens weren't, selfish assholes that are like, my freedoms. They're like, no, we understand that, this is deadly and we don't want to get everybody sick. So we're going to be nice and actually care about our neighbors and our friends and family members and stay home until this is passed. And it's like here, it's just, no, I got to go get my hair done. I got to go to church. It's just
Look,
like,
I love God, and I cut my own hair. let's just all cut our own hair and do everything at home for a couple months, and then before you know it, things could have been back to normal like a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
I saw today that Trump's now telling everybody, okay, we got to open up the churches now. This is an essential business, so we got to open up the churches. I'm like, okay, here comes the second phase.
Seriously. Well, and then of course, like you look back to like when the Spanish flu happened in like the early 1900s, and it's like there's going to be a second wave, whether we can control that part or not. It's going to happen, and I'm guaranteed, and I've even read like it's supposed to be deadlier than this first wave. So it's like we need to be taking these precautions, and then nobody wants to listen to that. They're like, I want to go to the beach. I'm gonna go to the beach.
Ugh. It's crazy. It's crazy. Ah, well.
That's reality, sadly.
Stupid reality. Stupid.
100%.
Yep.
Well. Are there any TV shows and stuff you've been watching?
Yeah, I just finished watching Hunters on Amazon Prime, which is pretty dang good. It's with Al Pacino, with set in the 70s with him and all these guys that he's gotten together to hunt down Nazis that are living in America. And it's like loosely based on history, but it's like almost like an alternative take on history. But it's really good. It's got some good twists in there.
So I've heard of it, so I'm gonna have to look into it because I've heard a lot of good things about it. So
yeah, I would say give that one a shot.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely give that one a shot. I mean, I've also been like watching like What We Do in the Shadows and stuff like that too. So
right.
I love that show. That show cracks me up so much.
Everybody like I hear a lot about Rick and Morty, and then of course, like the classic, you have the classic Family Guy, and then have you ever seen F is for Family?
The what?
On Netflix.
What's it called again? You
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You just broke up for a second when you were saying.
Okay. You're good. It's called F is for Family.
F is for Family? Okay. No, I haven't seen that yet.
It's pretty much like Family Guy, but like way farther. I probably one of the best, weirdest, crazy like animated series I've ever
Bless you.
seen. I highly recommend.
Oh. That sounds awesome, though. That sounds awesome. I'll have to check it out. I recently watched what was it?
I highly
Hashtag
recommend
Black
it.
as Fuck on Black AF. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. It's really good.
Yeah, because I've been rewatching a lot of shows just because I just love the reminiscing of old shows that I used to love and just catching up on other like tons of other stuff. Quarantine it gives you a lot to really do.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, it definitely does. It's like, okay, well, I got time to. That's what I've been doing is like catching up on video games and stuff like that. I haven't had time to play, so I'm like, okay, I'm doing that now.
Like I recently I got I got the reboot of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 because I love the Resident Evil games.
Oh yeah.
So I beat those like that, and I'm just like replaying those too. Like it's so cool to just like look back on those kind of things, and you're like, wow, like look where technology is now, and
Yeah.
look at all the graphics now, and it's great. I love it.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about the PlayStation 5 coming out this year. I'm just like, ooh.
That PlayStation 5 looks so beautiful.
It does. I'm like, I want it now.
Yeah, seriously.
I just hate they're releasing some really good games like in September right before it comes out too. I'm like, because they got
Right?
that Cyberpunk and they got the Avengers game coming out in September, and I'm like, oh man, so close to the release of that. So I'm like, but you know, I recently read that you can transfer your save files from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. So I'm like, oh, that's good then.
What?
Yeah, because with the cloud save and stuff like that.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so that's gonna be good. Then so I'm like,
Yes.
so if I don't finish everything on PlayStation 4, I can like, okay, well I can still play them on PlayStation 5. I can, no, probably load faster and stuff like that on there too. So it's like,
Right.
who knows? So that's good to know. That's good to know because I'm like, yeah, because like I know like this Marvel Avengers game is supposed to be like there's supposed to be a long shelf life in it where they keep on adding new things and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I don't want to buy that right before the PlayStation 5 comes out and then like not be able to play it. So I'm like, okay, this works.
Pretty much recently found out that like you can per games like on the instead of just like going out and buying a DVD. But like I'm someone who's like I love having the DVD. And that makes any sense. Yeah. So I might consider like doing that for some games. Like The Last of Us 2, I should say. I was so excited for that to come out, and then I pushed back the date a second time. I said, why?
Oh, I know. I've been trying to stay away from any kind of spoilers or anything like that for that game because I just want to just be like, okay, this is good. I just don't. Right. I want to go into it fresh and be like, oh man, because I love the first one. The first one was incredible.
It was.
Yeah, they just do really good games there at Naughty Dog anyway. So I'm just like, I trust them completely.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, there's certain.
Those are definitely the.
Yeah. Like Capcom. The people that are making Sucker Punch, the people that are making the Ghost of Tsushima that's coming out, which I really want to get.
Right.
That I always trust them pretty well. Also, CD Projekt Red, who's doing Cyberpunk, because they did The Witcher 3, and I'm like, they were so good with that game. Just all the free DLC they were releasing for that, even, and then the DLC that you paid for was like basically buying a new game, but for like a lot less. But it was like a 30-hour quest. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I'll support you. And
100%.
Rockstar, I know, always has good stuff too. So,
Right, yeah.
so
Love it.
yeah.
There's
Well,
yeah, lots more to look forward to.
yeah, exactly. That's what's getting me through the year.
I feel that 100%.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I was like, okay, just get me through this year. Just get me through it. Just get me through it. I'll be there at the end of the year, PlayStation 5. I'll be good.
And then another thing, like, I'm still honestly kind of like wrapping my head around how it's almost June.
Yeah.
Like, quarantine made this year go so fast.
It
I was
really
like, where did the time
has.
go? I thought January was long.
Uh-huh. It's crazy. It's just like this, especially since, been in lockdown, it's just gone by so fast for me. It's just like, it's because it's just, I'm doing the same thing every single day. So it just all just kind of just bloop.
It all meshes together.
Yeah. That's like, how is this almost June?
I'm right now. So there was one day like 2 weeks ago, it started snowing. It's literally like a month away from summer. Why is it snowing?
Yeah.
This weather is insane. Everything's just insane now. It's not just even COVID. It's literally everything is insane.
The whole universe has gone insane. I think this year is just like, this year is just going, fuck it. I think this was the year that Y2K was actually supposed to happen.
Right. Yep.
It was just 20 years too late. It was just like, oh, okay.
Yep.
It seems like every month there's something weird that happened. It started out with Australia being on fire, and then this with the virus, then murder hornets, and it's just like, what else is going? Earthquakes all over the place at one point. It's just like, what on earth? This is just
like one thing after another, and it's just like almost like, is this like a one-off? Not shocking anymore.
Yeah, it's like, this is just 2020. It's just exactly. My roommate's cat's like wanting to play, and I'm like, hey, kitty. She's a cute.
I love animals. Love animals.
Yeah, she's a funny one. She's funny. Like 1 second she's loving up on you, the next second she's like, no. And you're like, no. Why are you biting?
Why are you biting? I'm trying to. I like you. Let me like you.
Yeah, especially as like she always likes to roll over on her back and with the belly, and you're like, okay, this is a trap. This is a trap because and I fall for it every time because I'm like, oh, you're doing this. I'm like, ow.
Yep.
It's like, why are you doing that? Why? Why do I do that? It's like, it's not a dog. Where a dog does that, you're like, hey, buddy, there.
Yeah.
It's like, curse you, kitty. Curse you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. She is adorable. I don't know if you saw the video where I did the cat fishing. That was her in that video. It was so funny because like literally right before I started recording, she was playing with that toy like crazy. She was going nuts over it. And that's why I was like, I gotta film this. And then she's like, no, fuck you.
I don't want you to film it. Only your eyes. So thank you so much. It was great. And yes, for the 10 millionth time, like I said, can't wait for Terrifier 2.
Yes. Hopefully we get a trailer out to you guys soon.
Right.
So.
Serious. Oh, cross. Please. It might work with you one day. Never know.
Yep. Who knows? Stranger things have been known to happen.
Right? Exactly.
Well, you take care and you have a good day then. You
too, David. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Talk to you later. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.